Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Astralseer's video on Infinity Wars. In this video, we'll talk about the battlefield, which you will get to once you have built a deck and are challenging other players. In my other video, I will talk about the cards and how to build a deck. In this video I will talk about the makeup, what the battlefield looks like and what information you can glean from it, the different zones you can find on the battlefield, how turns work, and what your objectives are. So to start off, we'll talk about our own part of the battlefield, which mirrors your opponent's part of the battlefield. Here, where my cursor is now, you will see the graveyard. Creatures that have died and abilities that have used will appear in your graveyard. Next to it is your deck, where the cards you have not yet drawn are present. Next is your support zone, which we will talk about in a bit. And next to that is your command zone. It is the same for your enemy. Your enemy's command zone, your enemy's support zone, your enemy's deck, and his or her graveyard. Furthermore, you have your own defense zone and your own assault zone, and your opponent's defense zone and assault zone to mirror that. So, now that we have talked about how the battlefield looks, let's see what other interface stuff you can do. You have an options button where you can adjust the music and sound, concede the game. It says restart here because I'm playing a bot, but when you're playing against another player it will say concede. You have an end turn button. You have a chat system. This is the global chat, where you can see all the chat that's happening in the game. And if you're playing against another player, you will have a private chat window where you can chat with said player. Also, you will have a timer here. Because turns work in a different way than normal card games, there's need for a timer, which you will see here once you're playing against another player. Alright. Now that we've talked about what information you can glean from the screen, let's talk about how a turn works. In Infinity Wars, you will have resources, which will increase each turn. So at turn 1, you have 1 resource, on turn 2, you will have 2 resources, and so on and so forth. Here, you see your hand, which indicate which cards you have drawn. The resource cost of each card will be displayed in the upper right corner. Now, the first thing you can do is play a card. This can be done in 2 different ways. You can click on the card and then click the play card button to play the card, or cancel, clicking somewhere else on the screen. Or you can click and hold your mouse button and drag the card to the desired zone to play. If you do not want to play this card this turn, you can undo it by clicking this button. One thing to remember is that turns in this game run simultaneously. So you will not see what your opponent plays, and your opponent will not see what you have played. But once you press the end turn button, both your plays will resolve. This is where initiative comes in, which you will see at the top of the screen here. The name in green shows who has initiative. This will shift every turn. So this turn, my opponent will have initiative, while the next, I will have initiative. This number shows how many cards you have in hand. The same goes for your opponent. Aside from playing cards, You can use the trading post to achieve different effects during your turn. For 3 resources, you can shuffle a card from your hand into the deck and then draw a different card. This is exchanging cards effectively. For 5 resources, which I currently do not possess, you can draw a card from your deck into your hand. And for 9 resources, you can increase the resource count by 1. So basically gaining 2 resources next turn instead of 1. The limit on the amount of resources you can gain is 10. So at the 10th turn, you will have all the resources you could gain. However, there are cards and abilities, such as the one from the trading post I just showed, that will increase this limit. So, for example, if you would have 10 resources and then paid 9 to increase the resource by 1, next turn you would have 11. Aside from playing cards that are creatures, you can play abilities, such as the Fireball, which will deal 4 damage to the character you target. Playing an ability, you use the play card button. Dragging will not help. Once you have clicked the play card button, you will go into the targeting mode, which you can use to target a creature. That ability will then go to the graveyard. This is where initiative comes in. If my opponent would play an ability that would protect this creature from all damage, and I would play this ability to deal 4 damage to said character, that character will not receive its damage, since my opponent has initiative. Therefore, his ability will resolve first, and then my Fireball will resolve, therefore not dealing any damage, since he would have played a protective spell. This is what you can do during your turn. There are also commanders, which I will talk about in my deck building video, since they're crucial to building your deck. But if your commander has an ability, or any other card of yours has an ability that you can activate, you can activate it during your turn by pressing this arrow, whilst highlighting the card. The resources will be paid, and the ability will activate. These are the things you can do during your turn. So for example, I'm playing this warrior. It will end up in the support zone and become exhausted. Now, I will end my turn and see what happens. The cards your opponent plays are highlighted like this. And then they will go to the zone they are played in. Here, we can see my opponent using his commander on this card. Both cards are highlighted, you click, and the effect resolves. My opponent has played this creature in the assault zone, which means it will attack my health directly. You can place creatures in the defense zone to block this creature from dealing that damage, but since I didn't have any, it will directly damage my health by 5, which is its attack power. The same is true here. My creature has 5 attack power, there are no creatures in the opponent's defense zone, and thus I will deal 5 damage to its health. Now turn 4 begins, and I've drawn a card. You can see the card that you have drawn highlighted on the screen. By clicking, it goes into your hand. Now, I would wish to block this creature from damaging me further. Thus, since my warrior is no longer exhausted, I can drag it to any zone I want. I will drag it to the defense zone to prevent this damage from going through. I now have 4 resources to play something else. Commanders are not subject to exhaustion unless they play an ability, but they count as being in the support zone for the purposes of playing the card. So for the 4 resources that I have now, I could instantly play this character to either the assault or the defense zone. It is also possible for you to switch characters on the battlefield from the defense to the assault zone. you can rearrange as you desire, unless the card is exhausted while in the assault zone or the defense zone. Once a card is exhausted, it's locked to the zone. It is important to know also that these zones are called combat zones, whilst the support and command zone are not combat zones. There are spells in the game that only affect creatures in combat zones, or only creatures in the support zone. So it's important to know that these are defined as the combat zones. These are the zones where the combat actually happens. Since I have played my creature, and no resources left to do anything else, I will end my turn. Now, this card will be zoomed in because I have recently played this creature, and it will be the same on your opponent's screen. My opponent has played this creature, thus it will be zoomed in. My opponent uses his commander to buff this creature again, thus it will be zoomed and the effect resolved. Now my attack happens. Both creatures were not blocked with a creature during this turn, so both creatures get to add their attack power together to damage the opponent's health. This creature is blocked. What it does is it deals its attack power to the blocking creature's health, or to the attacking creature's health in this case. And this creature will deal its attack power to the blocking creature. You will see that this creature survives with 2 health, and my creature will die. Thus, if I click, my creature will go to the graveyard, and the other creature that was in the assault zone can attack unhindered. If my creature would have survived the attack from this creature, then this creature was also blocked by my defender. Defenders will block as much creatures as possible, and each creature in the assault zone will only attack once. So it is possible for one creature to block the entire attack line. This is it about combat mechanics. So now, how about these bars? I haven't said much about them yet, but we'll get to that now. Each player will start with 100 morale and 100 health. This is the health of your opponent, and the morale of your opponent, and this is your morale and your health. Each time a creature attacks unhindered, as we saw in this video with the picture of the fortress, it will deal its attack damage to the opponent's health. Every time a creature dies, it will affect your morale. Since this creature has died previously, I no longer have 100 morale, but 95. In my cards video, I will talk about the different morale values of the card and where you can read them. But for now, it's important just to know that killing creatures affects your opponent's morale. So for example, if I would play Fireball on this creature will die, and the opponent's morale will go down. The objective of the game is to either destroy the health of the opponent or the morale of the opponent. Here you will see my Fireball resolve, the creature dies, and the opponent loses morale. If either the morale or the health bar of you or the opponent go to 0, you lose the game or win the game, depending on whether your opponent's morale or health is 0 or your morale or health is 0. The objective thereby is to reduce the opponent's health and morale to 0. Because turns are played simultaneously, it is possible for attacks to resolve or situations to occur where either the morale or the health of both players go to 0 at the same time. The game is then considered a draw, and both players will gain points. This is all that I wish to talk about on this Battlefield video. I hope it was very informative and that you have enjoyed it. I would like for you to subscribe to my channel if you like the content and like this video. Also, please leave a comment. I would love to hear your feedback on it, and it can only improve my presentation. Also, during this time you will see an annotation somewhere around here that when you click it will link you to my Twitch channel where I stream games live. On my Twitch channel you will find my schedule when I stream what kind of game. And you will also find links to my other social media. This is it for the Battlefield video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you on the card video, or I will hope to see you on my channel live.